the light there. And this will be idea. Really